Tonight, we will take a quiet journey, back to a time long before our own, a time when the nights were darker, the days were slower, and the world felt smaller, yet somehow endless. I want you to imagine yourself lying here, safe and warm. As the sounds of the modern world slowly fade away, and we step together into the gentle rhythm of another life, you are in a small village, deep in the heart of medieval England. It is the early 14th century. The air smells faintly of damp earth, and of the smoke curling from low thatched chimneys. We are here to walk through a single day, the quiet, ordinary day of a medieval peasant's wife. Not a queen, not a noblewoman, but a simple woman whose life is rooted in the soil beneath her feet, and in the hearth at the center of her home. You may imagine her as young or older. Perhaps her hair is tucked neatly beneath a linen coif, or tied back in a simple braid. Her hands are strong from years of work, but her eyes still hold the softness of the countryside. It is just before dawn. The sky is still dark, but you can feel the approach of morning. Somewhere beyond the fields, a cockerel begins to call. Its voice slices gently through the silence, and slowly, other faint sounds join in. A sheep bleats softly in the pasture. A wooden door creaks open somewhere down the lane. Inside the cottage, the air is cool. The walls are rough timber, lined with wattle and daub. You can see the faint glow of embers in the hearth, left smoldering overnight to make the morning fire easier to light. The bed is simple, a frame of wood, a straw mattress, covered in blankets of wool, perhaps dyed a soft brown or pale gray. Our peasant's wife stirs gently beneath them. She is used to rising early, for the day begins with her. Her husband may be still asleep for a moment longer, but she knows the bread must be set to bake, the fire must be coaxed into life, and water must be drawn before the village well becomes crowded. She sits up slowly, adjusting her simple linen shift. The air carries a faint bite, the kind that makes you draw your shawl closer. Stepping softly across the room, she crouches by the hearth. With practiced hands, she takes the poker and turns the glowing embers. She adds a twist of straw, then a few thin sticks, and breathes gently into the heart of the coals, until a small flame begins to lick upward. The cottage slowly fills with the scent of wood smoke and the gentle, reassuring crackle of new fire. Nearby, a low table holds a wooden trough of dough, prepared the night before and left to rise under a cloth. She lifts the linen covering, checking its progress. The dough has puffed slightly, ready now to be shaped. She dusts the work surface with coarse flour. The feel of it is dry and cool beneath her fingertips. As she works, she hums softly to herself, a tune that may have been passed down from her mother, and from her mother's mother before that. It is not loud enough to wake the children still asleep in their small bed, but it fills the quiet in a way that feels comforting. When the loaves are shaped and set near the hearth to rise a little longer, she wraps her shawl around her shoulders and steps outside into the gray, blue morning. The world is still. A faint mist clings low to the fields. The air is damp, scented with wet grass, smoke, and the faint sweetness of manure from the livestock pens. She makes her way to the well at the center of the village green. The ground beneath her leather shoes is soft with dew. Each step leaves a faint dark print on the beaten earth. Other early risers pass quietly, a nod, a half-smile, no words needed. The wooden bucket drops into the well with a soft splash, and the rope creaks as she draws it up again. The water is cold and clear, reflecting the dim light of dawn. She returns to the cottage, carrying the heavy bucket carefully, her hands accustomed to the strain of its weight. Inside, the fire has caught well. The room feels warmer now, shadows dancing along the low ceiling beams. A clay pot is set over the fire, filled with water for porridge. She sprinkles in coarse oats, stirring with a wooden spoon. Soon, the scent of simmering grain fills the small space. Her children begin to stir. The littlest one rubs their eyes. The older one sits up slowly, still warm from the blankets. She greets them with a soft smile, helping them wash their faces in a basin. They sit near the fire as she ladles porridge into rough wooden bowls, adding a drizzle of honey if they are lucky this week, or a pinch of salt when sugar is scarce. Her husband joins them, dressed in his rough woolen tunic. The family eats quietly together, the rhythm of the spoons against the bowls, a gentle accompaniment to the morning. When the meal is done, the children take their bread, and small tasks are assigned. Her husband will head to the fields soon, perhaps to plow or to tend to the sheep. She will spend the morning baking, mending, and caring for the small plot behind the house. The rising loaves are set into the small bread oven beside the hearth. The warm, yeasty smell is comforting, filling every corner of the room. She sits by the small window, its shutter opened just enough to let in pale daylight. The sound of a soft breeze carries in rustling leaves and the occasional call of a bird. She takes up a length of linen and begins to mend a tier. Her stitches neat and steady, guided by years of habit, and so the morning drifts on, wrapped in the quiet tasks of daily life, the kind of work that holds no great drama, but sustains a home, a family, and a way of living. There is a peace to it, a slowness that we, in our world, rarely allow ourselves, and as you listen, you may feel that peace begin to settle over you too. Like the soft, even warmth of the hearth fire, the sun has climbed higher now. The pale gray of early morning has shifted into a soft golden light that spills over the fields and creeps into the cottage. The hearth still glows quietly, its heat steady and sure, but much of the work now moves outside. Our peasant's wife ties her apron more snugly and steps into the yard. She carries with her a small wicker basket, its purpose changing with the day. Sometimes it will be for eggs, gathered warm from the nesting boxes, sometimes for vegetables from the garden, or herbs for cooking and healing. Today, the garden calls first. It is not grand, just a modest rectangle behind the cottage, fenced with woven willow to keep out the geese. But it is full of life, rows of leeks standing tall, cabbages with thick green leaves curled tightly in the center, herbs spreading low to the ground, sage, parsley, thyme. She kneels in the soil, the hem of her woolen kirtle brushing the earth. Her fingers part the leaves, seeking the tender shoots that will flavor the day's meal. The smell rises with each touch, sharp and green, tinged with the faint sweetness of the soil itself. The air hums faintly with the sound of bees moving from blossom to blossom. Nearby, a hen clucks softly, scratching at the dirt. A brown, feathered shape disappears briefly behind the garden fence, only to emerge again, head bobbing in the rhythm of its search for grain. She smiles faintly. There is comfort in seeing them roam freely, knowing they will return to their roost at evening. In the distance, faint voices carry from the green where a few women gather to spin wool. Their conversation is slow and meandering, not urgent, not hurried. It weaves in and out like the yarn itself, touching on the weather, the health of neighbors, the latest work in the Lord's fields. She does not yet join them. Instead, she returns inside with her basket, setting it on the table. The bread is ready now, golden and fragrant, its crust crackled just slightly. She cuts a loaf carefully, the serrated edge of her small knife gliding through with ease. A sliver of steam escapes as the first slice falls away, and she sets it aside for her husband's midday meal. The small room smells of bread and herbs, and faintly of wool drying on a line strung near the window. She takes her spindle from the corner and joins the other women at the green. The walk there is not long. The earth beneath her feet is firm now, the morning dew burned away. Children dart here and there, laughing, chasing each other around the cottages. A dog dozes in the sun, one ear twitching at the sound of their voices. At the green, she greets the women quietly and takes her place among them. The wheel of conversation turns slowly. One speaks, another listens, another hums softly under her breath. Hands move steadily over their work, pulling, twisting, winding the wool into strong, fine yarn. Her own spindle turns gently in her hands. The fibers catch and pull, forming a smooth, even thread. It is work that requires focus but not strain, the kind of work that allows the mind to drift. Above them, the sky is pale blue and cloudless. A swallow darts low over the grass, then wheels upward toward the eaves of a nearby barn. The air is warm now, but not stifling the kind of warmth that makes you slow down just enough to notice the feel of it on your skin. Somewhere nearby, a wooden cart rattles over the road, its wheels bumping against stones. A man calls softly to the donkey pulling it, urging it onward. The sound passes and fades until it is swallowed by the village's quiet hum. After some time, she rises and returns to her cottage. The sun is high now, and it is time to prepare the midday meal. In the corner by the hearth, a clay pot simmers gently, filled with barley and root vegetables, carrots, parsnips, perhaps a small turnip or two. The smell is hearty but simple, mingling with the ever-present scent of wood smoke. She tears bread into pieces, placing them in wooden bowls. When the stew is ready, she ladles it over the bread so it soaks in the rich, warm broth. Her husband returns from the fields, sweat darkening the wool at his collar, his face flushed from the sun. He washes quickly in the basin outside before joining her at the table. The meal is eaten without hurry. The spoons scrape softly against the bowls. The only other sounds are the occasional sigh of satisfaction, the clink of a cup set down on the table. There is no rush to return to the fields until the bell calls again. For a little while, there is just the shared quiet of a simple meal. When the food is gone, the bowls are rinsed in the wooden tub outside. She sets them upside down on a plank to dry in the sun. The light glints off the water, still clinging to the edges, turning it silver for a moment before it drips away. Inside, the shadows have shifted. The hearth now sits in a pool of sunlight spilling through the open shutter. The fire still smolders, but its heat feels softer now, mingled with the warmth from the day itself. She takes her basket again, this time with a bundle of mending tucked inside. She will spend the early afternoon with her needle and thread, repairing a tear in her husband's tunic, reinforcing the seams of a child's worn shirt. Each stitch is small, precise, and almost invisible when finished. And so, the middle of the day unfolds slowly, full of quiet motions and the faint hum of the village around her. The air smells faintly of grass warmed by the sun, and somewhere, the sound of a lark floats high and clear over the fields. The world is steady here, and for now, time does not rush forward. It simply drifts like the lazy shadows that stretch across the green. The sun now leans toward its slow descent. Its light is softer than at midday, casting longer shadows that stretch across the village green. The warmth of the day still lingers in the air, but there is a hint, just a whisper of coolness beginning to creep in. Our peasant's wife works in this tempered light. The harder labors of the morning are behind her, yet there is always something more to be done. She moves between home and garden, yard and lane, with the unhurried grace of one who knows each step, each motion by heart. In the shade near the door of the cottage, she sets down her small wooden stool. Beside her rests a low basket filled with vegetables gathered earlier: carrots, turnips, a cabbage. With a short-handled knife, she begins trimming them neatly, the peelings falling in quiet curls into the grass at her feet. These will be added to the pot again this evening, thickening the stew for supper. The sound of the knife against the cutting board is soft but rhythmic, a heartbeat of the afternoon. Nearby, a hen hops from a low fence and scratches at the ground, curious about the scraps. A shaft of sunlight catches in the dust she stirs up, turning it golden for a moment before it drifts away. Once the vegetables are prepared, she carries a bundle of herbs inside. Some will be hung to dry, suspended from the beams over the hearth. Others she will grind into powders for flavoring food or brewing remedies. At the table, she takes the wooden mortar and pestle in hand. The sound of stone against wood is dull and steady, a comforting note in the cottage's quiet symphony. A faint fragrance rises as the leaves break apart the peppery sharpness of sage, the clean bite of thyme. Her youngest child sits nearby, tracing shapes in the dust on the floor with one finger. From time to time, The child hums a little tune, quiet and tuneless but sweet in its own way. The afternoon moves like this, unhurried, each small task flowing naturally into the next. When the herbs are stored and the tools put away, she takes her spindle once more. The wool she spins now will be needed come winter, when the nights are bitter and long. It is not work for the moment, but for the seasons ahead a small insurance against the chill to come. From the open shutter, she can see the fields where her husband and others work. The distant figures bend and straighten in slow rhythm, their movements in harmony with the land itself. Above them, the sky is pale and clear, the edges of the clouds touched faintly with gold. She rises and steps outside again, carrying a small jug of water. The lane is quiet, save for the occasional passing of a neighbor or the low murmur of voices from an open doorway. She takes a moment to stand in the yard, feeling the sun on her face and the breeze in her hair. It smells faintly of hay and warm earth. Inside once more, she begins to tidy the small home. Straw is swept from the floor with a bundle of tied twigs. The bed linens are shaken outside and laid across a fence to catch the last of the day's sun. In the corner, a jug of ale rests cool against the wall. It will be poured later, when the family gathers for supper. The shadows lengthen. The low sound of a bell carries faintly from the church at the edge of the village, mocking the slow turn toward evening. In the yard, she gathers a few eggs from the nesting boxes, their shells still faintly warm from the hens. They rest carefully in her palm, fragile but full of promise. One or two she sets aside for tomorrow, but the rest will be used tonight. They will add richness to the meal, a welcome treat after the steady fare of bread and pottage. The hens cluck contentedly, settling into their roost as the light softens further. From across the green, faint laughter drifts from a group of children still at play. Their voices echo lightly against the walls of the cottages, a fading note of the day's liveliness. Somewhere a dog barks once, then falls silent again. Back inside, the fire is coaxed higher for the evening's cooking. The pot from earlier is refreshed with the vegetables prepared outside, the broth deepening in flavor as it simmers. The scent fills the room slowly, mingling with the faint, resinous smell of the herbs drying above. She pauses in her work to sit quietly for a moment by the fire. Her hands rest in her lap, the day's tasks nearly complete. There is a stillness here that feels as much a part of the home as its walls, a deep, unspoken rhythm that has carried through generations, binding each day to the next. Outside, the last warmth of the sun touches the thatch of the cottage roof, and in the far distance, a rook calls once more before settling into the tall trees beyond the fields. It is the slow, gentle song of the day's ending, and the soft invitation to begin thinking of evening. The sun has slipped lower now. Its light, once bright and steady, is turning into a honeyed gold that lays gently over the village. Shadows stretch long and soft, falling across doorways and winding lanes. The air carries a cooler touch, lifting the edge of the peasant wife's woolen sleeve as she steps into the yard. The last of the hens are settling into their roost for the night, their feathers fluffed against the coming chill. She closes the wooden hatch to keep them safe from the fox and the weasel. The latch clicks softly, a small, satisfying sound of the day's work coming to its natural close. Inside, the fire glows steady in the hearth. The pot hangs above it, steam curling lazily upward to join the soft shadows beneath the beams. The smell of the stew has grown deeper over the hours, earthy vegetables, warm barley, a hint of herbs gathered from the garden earlier. It fills the cottage with the scent of comfort. She stirs the pot slowly, the wooden spoon tracing a quiet circle. Her youngest, now drowsy from the day's play, leans against the low bench beside her. The child's hair smells faintly of sun and grass. From outside, muffled laughter drifts through the open shutter, neighbors finishing their own evening tasks before darkness claims the lanes. The peasant wife takes the wooden bowls from their shelf. They are simple, worn smooth with years of use, each one shaped slightly differently from the next. The bread baked in the morning is brought to the table, its crust still crisp. Slices are laid out alongside small portions of cheese saved for such a meal. Her husband arrives, steps heavy but not hurried. The day's work in the fields has left his face ruddy from the sun, his hands darkened with soil. He washes in the basin outside before stepping in, the sound of water splashing against the wooden sides soft and familiar. When he enters, there is no loud greeting, just the quiet warmth of being home. They eat together in the dimming light. The bowls are cradled in their hands, the stew warming them from within. The spoon meets the side of the bowl with a soft clink now and again, and the bread soaks deeply in the broth. The only other sound is the quiet sigh of the fire. It is a simple meal, but after a day of labor, it feels abundant. There is no rush here, no pressing need to hurry on. They speak in low voices about the small things of the day. A neighbor's cow calving, a patch of beans ready for picking, a change in the wind that might mean rain tomorrow. When the bowls are empty, they are set gently aside. The fire is banked slightly, its heart still glowing, to give warmth through the coming night. The peasant wife clears the table slowly, each movement deliberate and quiet, so as not to disturb the peaceful air that has settled in the home. With the supper things put away, she sits on the low stool by the hearth. The last light from outside glimmers faintly through the open shutter, gilding the edge of her spindle. She spins a little wool, not much, just enough to ease the time until full darkness falls. The thread twists between her fingers, fine and steady. From the far end of the village, the church bell sounds once, twice, and then again. The deep tone rolls over the fields and rooftops, mocking the coming of night. Beyond the door, the first stars are just visible in the darkening sky. Her husband steps outside to take in the evening air. He stands quietly, looking over the green and the lane beyond. Somewhere far away, a dog barks once. The breeze carries the faint, sweet smell of wood smoke from other cottages, mingling with the sharper scent of the cooling earth. Inside, she tends the children, pulling wool blankets over them, tucking them in on the straw mattress. Their eyes close easily in the low, flickering light. She hums softly, though no full tune comes, just the rise and fall of gentle notes that seem as much a part of the cottage as the wooden beams. Before her own rest, there is one last task. She steps to the door and looks out across the yard, making sure all is secure. The coop is latched, the tools are stowed, the path is quiet. A pale wash of moonlight now begins to touch the thatch and the worn stones of the lane. Back inside, the door is closed softly. The fire whispers in the grate, casting slow, moving shadows on the walls. The room holds the deep stillness of evening, a stillness that asks for no more than to be felt and lived in, until sleep takes it. The peasant wife settles into her place beside the fire, hands folded loosely, eyes half closed. The day has been full, yet gentle in its way, a thread in the unbroken weave of many such days. And as the night gathers fully outside, the hearth's soft glow is enough to hold the world, just here, just now, until morning returns. The night deepens quietly. The village, so full of life through the day, now lies still beneath a dark, velvety sky. Only the faintest silver light falls from the half-moon, painting the thatched roofs and narrow lanes with a soft sheen. Inside the peasant's cottage, the fire has burned low. Its glow is a steady ember light, casting no more than a gentle halo around the hearth. The warmth it gives is calm, even, wrapping the small room like a blanket. The children sleep soundly, their breathing slow and deep. The straw mattress shifts faintly as they turn in their dreams, the rustle blending with the quiet hum of the night beyond the walls. The wool blank, its hold in the day's gathered warmth, a comfort against the cool air that drifts gently through the small cracks in the shutters. The peasant's wife sits for a time beside the fire, her work finished, her thoughts as unhurried as the passing minutes. She listens not for anything in particular, but simply to the sounds of a sleeping home, the faint creak of the beams above, the soft sigh of the wind pressing lightly against the walls, The distant call of a night bird answered faintly from somewhere further off. Her husband's breathing from his place on the bed is slow and even. The weight of his day's labor has settled into rest now, and his hands, so often busy and strong, are open, still. She closes her eyes for a moment, feeling the quiet in her bones. The rhythm of the day, from dawn to dusk, has been like a familiar song, one she has lived so many times that the melody comes without thought. There is a certain comfort in that repetition, a gentle promise that tomorrow will be much the same. Beyond the door, the night is cool. If she were to step outside, she would hear the soft ripple of the brook beyond the green, the whisper of dry grasses moving in the light breeze, and perhaps, if the air were still enough, the faint rustle of an animal in the hedgerow. But she does not rise. Instead, she leans back, letting the firelight brush her face. Her hands are folded loosely in her lap, her head tilted just enough to rest. She breathes slowly, as if matching the gentle swing of the wind outside. In this hour, there is no work pressing, no voices calling, no bells ringing. The world has drawn in close, folded upon itself in quiet rest. The small flames flicker softly, shaping shadows that seem to sway like slow dancers upon the walls. Their movement is hypnotic, so gentle, so steady, that one could watch them until thought itself drifts into dreams. From time to time, an ember pops softly in the grate, sending a tiny shower of sparks upward before settling again into stillness. The smell of the fire, faintly sweet from the wood, edged with the earthiness of the day's cooking, is a comfort all its own. The peasant's wife finally rises, her movements slow and measured. She takes one last look around the room. The bowls are set aside, the bread stored for the morning, the wool tucked away from the reach of curious little hands. She moves to the bed and lies down beside her husband. The mattress is firm, the straw shifting faintly under her weight. The blanket comes up to her chin, holding in the warmth of the day's last fire. In the dark, her eyes remain open for a while. She watches the faintest trace of moonlight at the shutter's edge. Her breathing slows. Her thoughts drift only on the soft current of the moment, neither holding to the day behind, nor reaching for the day ahead. Somewhere outside, an owl calls again. It is not a sound to startle, but to remind her that life moves even in the quiet hours. The answer comes from far across the fields, low and rolling, fading into the distance. Her eyes grow heavy. The weight of the blanket feels deeper now, as if it is not only cloth, but the rest of the world drawing her into sleep. The fire, too, is sinking into its own rest, the embers dimming, their glow now no more than a soft heartbeat in the grate. In this stillness, the village dreams. The lanes, the fields, the cottages all lie wrapped in the same night, breathing in the same rhythm. There is no hurry here, no sharp edge to disturb the peace. Her last waking thought is not of tomorrow's work, nor of yesterday's labors, but simply of this moment, this quiet, this deep, steady breath of the world at rest. And then, sleep takes her, and so, the night holds its gentle watch. The cottage rests as though cradled in the stillness of the fields around it. No cart wheels on the lane, no voices calling from the green. Only the slow and steady breath of a sleeping village. The air outside has cooled further. If one were to walk the lane now, the ground beneath would crunch faintly with frost, each step sounding louder than it should in the great quiet. Above, the sky is vast and clear, scattered with stars. They seem sharper in the cold air, each one a tiny point of silver light, older than memory. The peasant's home is wrapped in shadow, save for the warm heart of the hearth's glow. It is the kind of glow that feels alive, low and steady, with the occasional shift and murmur as the last embers settle deeper into their bed of ash. The scent of woodsmoke lingers faintly in the rafters, mixed with the earth's rich smell of the straw mattress. Inside, all is still. The family sleeps, their faces softened by rest. The children lie curled beneath their wool blankets, their small breaths joining the rhythm of the night. Her husband's arm rests across the blanket's edge, his hand relaxed and open. The peasant's wife has drifted deep into sleep, her body heavy in its rest. The small lines of the day have smoothed away from her brow. Her mind floats in the quiet space between waking and dreaming, where the warmth of the fire and the softness of the bed seem to blend together into something endless. In the dark, the walls hold their warmth. The timbers, thick with years, breathe gently with the weather outside. The thatch above is layered against the cold, sheltering the home in a way that feels both sturdy and kind. The sounds here are so few, they feel precious. The occasional sigh of the wind slipping around the corner of the house. The faint, settling creak of the wooden frame. Somewhere far off, perhaps the low bark of a fox making its slow patrol of the hedgerows. Time has loosened its grip. It no longer matters whether it is minutes or hours until morning. The night will last exactly as long as it needs to, no more, no less, and all that happens within it is gentle and unhurried. If the fire fades to its last ember, the wool blankets will hold the warmth. If the frost outside grows thick, the cottage walls will keep it away. Nothing is pressing here, nothing is urgent. The dreams that come are slow, moving like clouds across the night sky. They are made not of sharp moments, but of textures, the feel of earth beneath bare feet, the scent of wild thyme in the summer sun, the sight of wheat bending softly in the breeze. They carry no weight, no haste, just the easy drifting of thought in the safe dark. And the village itself seems to dream. Each home, each barn, each lane lies as though it, too, has settled in, content to let the hours pass quietly. In the center, the church's bell tower stands dark against the sky, the bell silent now, waiting for the light to return. Beyond the village, the fields spread wide and still. The hedgerows hold their shape in the frost, their shadows long and soft under the moon. The brook runs on, slow but steady, as it always has, as it always will. In this stillness, you can almost imagine that the world has paused, that nothing stirs beyond the edge of sight, that the moment could stretch forever, unbroken by day, but morning will come gently when it's ready. The first light will touch the thatch, the frost will soften under the sun, and the village will breathe again into its daily rhythm. Until then, the night keeps its slow, steady hold. And in that long, unbroken quiet, the peasant's wife sleeps on her breath, as even as the turning of the stars overhead. Her rest as deep as the dark that wraps the village in its tender embrace. There is nothing more to be done, nothing to change, only this quiet, this safe, slow drift, until even thought itself gives way to dreams, and here, you may drift too. Let your own breath match the stillness. Let your mind soften, the edges blur, the weight of the day ease away. You are safe here. You are warm here. You are held by the night, just as she is. And now, sleep.